For thousands of years, humans have built cities, built great structures, and then disappeared without a trace. Why were the ancient pyramids built with such precision down to the last stone? Who carved the massive blocks of stone at Puma Punku with such precision that even modern technology is baffled? And what caused glorious civilizations like the Maya, the Indus, or Atlantis to collapse? These are not just historical questions. They are reminders that we may not know everything about our own human past. Join me on a journey to discover the secrets of lost civilizations. Secrets that even archaeologists cannot explain. The enigma of Göbekli Tepe. Let us begin in Turkey, at a site older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids. It is called Göbekli Tepe. Discovered in the 1990s, this ancient temple complex rewrote history itself. Massive stone pillars, some weighing over 20 tons, stand arranged in perfect circles. Each stone is decorated with carvings of animals, lions, snakes, vultures. But here's the puzzle. Göbekli Tepe is over 11,000 years old. That is 6,000 years before Stonehenge. According to what archaeologists once believed, humans at that time were simple hunter-gatherers, nomadic tribes with no permanent homes. And yet, here stands a temple complex so advanced, so sophisticated, it challenges everything we thought we knew about the rise of civilization. How did they move those massive stones without wheels, without metal tools? Why did they build these circles with such precision? And perhaps most haunting of all, why did they bury the entire complex in sand, deliberately, as if hiding it from future eyes? Some researchers suggest it was a place of ritual. Others say it was a kind of observatory, tracking the stars and the movements of the heavens. But the truth is, we don't know. Even today, decades after its discovery, Göbekli Tepe remains a riddle that refuses to be solved. And this is just the beginning. The Nazca Lines now. Travel with me to the deserts of Peru. Stretching across the barren land are enormous drawings, geoglyphs, etched into the ground. From above you can see them. A hummingbird with wings outstretched, a giant monkey, a spider, a series of endless lines pointing toward the horizon. Some of these figures stretch hundreds of feet long. They can only be truly appreciated from the sky. But here's the problem. The Nazca people created these geoglyphs between 500 BC and 500 AD. And as far as we know, they had no way to fly. No hot air balloons, no planes, no satellites. So how, without ever leaving the ground, could they create images so large, so perfectly proportioned, that they can only be understood from above? Some archaeologists say the Nazca Lines were ceremonial, perhaps to honor gods in the sky. Others believe they served as astronomical calendars, but the precision is astonishing. And the biggest mystery is this: why go through such effort to make something that no human could even see from the ground? Unless, of course, though, they were meant for someone or something else. A pattern of mystery. From Turkey to Peru, the pattern is clear. Civilizations we cannot fully understand. Structures and symbols that make us question everything about our ancestors. And here's the unsettling thought. Maybe these are not isolated cases. Maybe scattered across the globe, across deserts, jungles, and seas, lie countless other traces of civilizations that rewrote the rules of history. Civilizations we are only beginning to uncover, because every time we peel back a layer of soil, we don't just find answers. We find new questions. This is only the first step into the unknown. And in the next chapter, we will journey into the heart of the Indus Valley, where an entire civilization thrived, and then disappeared without a trace, the vanishing of the Indus Valley. Close your eyes and imagine a city, wide streets perfectly aligned, brick houses standing side by side, an underground drainage system carrying water away from the homes, public baths, granaries. A city so well organized it feels almost modern. This was the Indus Valley civilization, thriving more than 4,000 years ago along the Indus River in what is now Pakistan and northwest India. It was one of the world's earliest great urban cultures. The cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were advanced beyond their time. The people there built with standardized bricks, planned their streets with mathematical precision, and, most astonishing of all, developed a form of writing. Small inscriptions carved into seals featuring animals and symbols. But here is the mystery. That writing has never been deciphered. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs, unlike Sumerian cuneiform, and then, suddenly, around 1900 BC, the civilization collapsed. Cities were abandoned. The once thriving culture faded into silence. What happened? Some scholars point to climate change, a massive drought that dried up the rivers. Others suggest invasions from nomadic tribes. But there is no single definitive answer. It is as if the Indus Valley simply vanished, leaving behind ghost cities, unreadable texts, and endless questions. Imagine building a society so advanced and then watching it disappear without a trace. The Olmec Mystery. From Asia. Let's cross the ocean to Central America. Long before the Maya or the Aztec, there was another civilization, one so mysterious that even today, its name feels like a whisper. The Olmecs. The Olmecs flourished around 1500 BC in what is now Mexico. They are sometimes called the mother culture of Mesoamerica because so many traditions of later civilizations, pyramids, calendars, sacred ball games, seem to trace back to them. But what we know of them is puzzling. They left behind colossal stone heads, some weighing up to 40 tons, carved with astonishing detail, each face unique as if depicting real individuals. But who were these people? Kings, warriors, gods? We don't know. And perhaps the greatest enigma, the Olmecs vanished. By around 400 BC, their cities were abandoned, their culture absorbed or erased. Unlike the Maya or Aztec, we have no surviving texts, no chronicles to tell their story. Just these silent giant heads staring at us across time. The strange case of the Sea Peoples. But sometimes it isn't just a single civilization that disappears. It's entire empires that collapse all at once. Travel back to the late Bronze Age, around 1200 BC. Across the Mediterranean, great powers thrived. Egypt, Mycenaean Greece, the Hittites, the Minoans. And then, suddenly, almost all of them crumbled. Historians call this event the Late Bronze Age collapse, and one shadowy force seems to appear again and again in ancient records: the Sea Peoples. Egyptian inscriptions describe them as fearsome invaders who arrived by boat, sweeping across the Mediterranean, destroying cities, toppling kingdoms. But who were they? No one knows. They left no records of their own. Were they displaced refugees, fleeing famine, ruthless raiders, a confederation of tribes seeking new lands? All we know is this: they brought chaos so severe that entire civilizations collapsed, plunging the Mediterranean world into centuries of darkness. Imagine an unknown people appearing from nowhere, powerful enough to erase empires, and then disappearing into history themselves. A common thread. When we look at these stories, the Indus Valley, the Olmecs, the Sea Peoples, we notice a chilling pattern. Civilizations rise, flourish, and then vanish. Sometimes through natural disaster, sometimes through war, and sometimes for reasons we cannot begin to explain. And yet, each time we uncover their ruins, each time we find their artifacts, we are confronted with the same haunting question. How much of human history has been lost? Because if these great civilizations could vanish, taking their knowledge, their discoveries, their entire way of life with them, what else might lie buried, forgotten, waiting for us to rediscover? In our next chapter, we will journey deeper into the world of myths and legends, to places like Atlantis and Lemuria. Were they just stories told by ancient philosophers? Or do they hold fragments of forgotten truths, clues to civilizations even older, even more advanced than the ones we know? Atlantis, the eternal mystery. Picture this. The year is around 360 BC. The philosopher Plato sits with his students in Athens, telling a story that has fascinated humanity for more than 2,000 years. He speaks of a mighty island empire called Atlantis, a land rich in resources, advanced in technology, ruled by kings who descended from the god Poseidon himself, a civilization so powerful it challenged the known world. But then, one day, in a single night of fire and water, Atlantis sank beneath the sea, gone, without a trace. To many, Atlantis is nothing more than myth, a parable told by Plato to warn against arrogance. But others wonder, was there some truth hidden in the tale? Over the centuries, explorers and scholars have searched for Atlantis. Some claim it lies beneath the waves near the Azores. Others believe it was the island of Santorini, destroyed by a volcanic eruption that devastated the Minoan civilization. Still others point to the Caribbean or even Antarctica. But here is the haunting part. No matter where we look, pieces of the puzzle remain missing. We cannot prove Atlantis ever existed, yet the legend refuses to die. It lingers in our imagination, as if whispering that somewhere beneath the waves, the ruins of a forgotten civilization still wait. Lemuria, the lost continent of the Indian Ocean. Now, let us sail to another mystery, Lemuria. In the 19th century, scientists were puzzled. How could similar species of lemurs be found in both Madagascar and India, separated by vast oceans? To explain it, they proposed the idea of a lost continent that once connected the two lands. They called it Lemuria. Though modern geology has dismissed this theory, proving continents drift instead of sinking, Lemuria found a second life in myth. Mystics and occultists claimed Lemuria was once home to an advanced civilization, a spiritual people who communicated through telepathy, who possessed knowledge far beyond our own. Some even said the survivors of Lemuria became the ancestors of later cultures across the Pacific. Of course, we cannot prove this. Lemuria remains a legend, an echo of imagination, but its persistence reveals something important. Humans feel drawn to the idea that entire continents, entire civilizations may have existed and then disappeared, leaving no trace but memory. The antediluvian civilizations. But perhaps these myths, Atlantis, Lemuria, are not just stories. Perhaps they echo something deeper. Across the world, in nearly every ancient culture, there are stories of a great flood. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh tells of waters that wiped out humanity. In the Bible, Noah's Ark carries life through divine punishment. In India, ancient texts speak of Manu, saved by a giant fish from rising waters. What if these stories point to a shared memory? A time when a real cataclysm struck the earth. Perhaps the end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago, when glaciers melted, seas rose, and entire coastal civilizations vanished beneath the waves? If so, then perhaps Atlantis is not a single place, but a symbol, a memory of many cultures that drowned in the rising seas. A warning written into myth. Civilizations rise, civilizations fall, and nature itself can erase even the greatest of empires. Myths as windows into the past. So what do we do with these legends? Do we dismiss them as fantasy? Or do we look closer and ask, why do so many cultures tell the same stories of golden ages, lost continents, and floods that wipe the slate clean? Archaeologists, bound by evidence, remain cautious. But imagination drives us further. Because if even a fragment of these myths is true, then human history is far older, far stranger than we ever imagined. And perhaps the ruins are still out there, beneath the ocean, beneath the sand, beneath our feet, waiting. But myths are not the only mysteries. There are also puzzles carved into stone, standing in plain sight, that science still cannot fully explain. In the next chapter, we will journey to places like Easter Island and Puma Punku, sites where the stones themselves seem to speak of knowledge that should not have existed. The silent watchers of Easter Island. Far out in the Pacific Ocean lies a small, isolated island, Easter Island, or Rapa Nui. When Dutch explorers first arrived in 1722, they were stunned by what they saw. Giant stone statues called Moai, standing tall across the island, their backs turned to the sea. Some Moai weigh more than 70 tons. Many are over 30 feet tall. They were carved from volcanic rock and somehow transported across rugged terrain, without wheels, without beasts of burden, without modern cranes. How did the islanders move these giants? Some researchers suggest ropes and a clever walking technique, rocking the statues forward step by step. Others believe the answer is still missing. But here is the greater mystery. Why were they built? Were they guardians, ancestors watching over their descendants, messages to the gods? The people of Rapa Nui left no written records to explain. All we have are these silent faces, staring endlessly at the horizon, their meaning locked away. Puma Punku, the impossible stones. Now, let us journey to Bolivia, high in the Andes. Here stands Puma Punku, part of the ancient city of Tiwanaku. What remains is not a pyramid or a palace, but massive stone blocks. Cut with such precision, they fit together like pieces of a puzzle. Some blocks weigh over 100 tons, yet they were carved with interlocking shapes, perfect 90-degree angles, and holes drilled with a precision that seems far beyond the tools available thousands of years ago. How was this done? With copper chisels and stone hammers, or with a technology we have forgotten? Archaeologists offer theories, but standing before those stones, perfectly cut, impossibly massive, one cannot help but wonder, did these people know something we do not? Did they inherit techniques lost to time? Puma Punku challenges us. It whispers that our timeline of human innovation may not be as simple as we think. A thread connecting them all: Easter Island, Puma Punku, Göbekli Tepe, the Indus Valley, the Olmecs, Atlantis. Different places, different eras, but connected by a single thread: the unknown. Each of these civilizations rose, achieved wonders, and then faded into silence. Each left behind puzzles that archaeologists still cannot solve. And perhaps that is the most humbling truth of all. We are not the first to stand upon this earth and wonder who came before us. We are not the first to build, to dream, to leave our mark upon stone. But unlike them, we have something they did not: the knowledge of their disappearance. the final reflection. So as we look at these lost civilizations, we must ask, what will remain of us? 1,000 years from now, will future archaeologists walk among the ruins of our cities and ask the same questions? The mysteries of the past are not just curiosities. They are warnings. They remind us that no civilization, no matter how advanced, is immune to time, to nature, or to its own mistakes. And yet, there is also wonder, because in every ruin, in every carving, in every unanswered riddle, there is proof of something extraordinary, the resilience and imagination of the human spirit. Civilizations may vanish, but the desire to create, to reach for the stars, to leave behind something that whispers, "We were here," that is eternal. And so the secrets of lost civilizations remain, not fully explained, not fully understood, but alive within us, within our curiosity, within our longing to know who we are and where we come from. Because maybe the greatest mystery is not what we have lost, but what we are still yet to discover. Lost civilizations may never tell their stories, but it is precisely that silence that makes us yearn for answers. If you too find these mysteries intriguing, join me on this journey, because this is just the beginning. There is much more to come. Don't forget to click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next mysteries in Echoes of the Past. Thank you for coming along. See you on the next magical journey.